It's episode 338 of The Platformers, a show about games and nerd culture, and I'm your host, Brian Barnett.
I have stared into the abyss, Chris Cornelise.
I am delimbing people left, right, and center. Ninja Gaiden is back, baby. I'm Will Berger.
I'm Lucas White, and I think I hate Star Wars. But I'm not sure yet.
Join me.
Listen, it's okay. Nobody hates Star Wars more than Star Wars fans, all right?
That's true.
And it's fine. We'll always have Dune. Don't worry about it.
Good old dunk.
Listen, I'm at the point that we can just like put everything that isn't Andor in the bin.
I still need to watch more of that. Like,
You need to watch Andor.
You need to watch.
I've seen some of it. I watched the one where, God, what was it? I think the last one I watched was the one where they it was the lady getting the doctor in to do like the kind of conditioning procedure. I think that's the last one I saw, which is good. Like, it's a great episode.
Halfway through, yeah.
It's freaking brutal.
Look, yeah.
Oh, Platysaur in the chat says Andor is the GOAT, bro. Platysaur, thanks for joining.
That's correct.
Thank you, Austin. You beautiful bitch.
I almost said it's okay because I know Gundam will never do me wrong. So I realized that was a lie.
That's a lie.
I was about to say, you've been done wrong by Gundam a lot.
Awful lie.
That is
Gundam
probably
Seed Destiny is right over there in the corner.
Actually.
Yeah. Platysaur in the chat says, damn, Will leaked me. Wili Leaks. There we go.
I'm sorry for using your government name.
Yeah, the betrayal. Top 10 anime betrayals. But we got a lot to talk about this week. So if you tuned in last week and heard us talk about how we were going to do Game of the Year this week, we tricked you. We're actually doing that next week.
It's my fault. It's my fault. Blame me. Blame me. Do not blame anybody of the other handsome, beautiful men here. Blame me. It's my fault.
Blame Will. It's his fault.
It is my fault.
But I'm hoping that will set us up for a fun discussion about one game in particular.
Yes.
That is going to feature prominently in the Game of the Year episode, which I am so excited to do. Like, I cannot wait. I will wait, but I can't. But yeah, this week we've got a couple other things to talk about. Let's see. Where do we want to start? We've got some fun stuff to get into. Will, do you want to lead it off with the kind of du jour?
Just got a notification.
Oh, Platysaur, thank you for the follow.
So Thursday was the Xbox Direct, right?
I think so. I'll look
at it. Is that right?
I mean, maybe for some of you.
So I'm on the couch with my cat. I'm vibing. I'm not at work. I'm not watching the Xbox Direct. And Lucas,
yes,
sends me a message, and he's like, "Will, you got to turn this shit on."
And I'm like, "We're on the screen,
especially right now."
Yeah, right now, you need to turn this on. And I was like, "Okay." And I turn it on. And lo and behold, what do my wandering eyes does appear but Ninja Gaiden and people getting murdered. And so the first thing I did was I was talking to Tom Marks at IGN, and I said, Tom, well, it was like Ninja Gaiden 4, and I was like, and then they were like, oh, by the way, Ninja Gaiden 2 Black. And I was like, really? Available now? Oh, all right.
On Game Pass, no less.
On Game Pass, you can just go get it. And I was like, nah, I was going to play this anyway, but the first thing I did was talk to Tom Marks at IGN. I said, Tom, somebody's right about this. It should be me. And so for the last few days, I have been playing Ninja Gaiden 2 Black, and we're so back. Action games are so back. Like, it's unfathomable how down bad I was. I didn't even know how much I needed, like, a game with a real combat system until I got
No
one.
joke, you have been rejuvenated in the last few
days.
days.
I actually, like, I feel 5 years younger. You know, and I think what's really exciting about it is, A, like, there's a ton of people who've never played Ninja Gaiden before who are playing Black 2, and they're like, this is sick, and it's like, yes, that's not even the best one. And it's also like Geo over at Digital Trends did a really excellent piece on this that I retweeted on Blue Sky about like getting us talking about why games are designed the way that they are and kind of the homogenization of the action genre and the action RPG. Although Ninja Gaiden is not an action RPG, but it is an action game, and kind of the same way that we've built these games to all be very similar, right? And playing Ninja Gaiden 2 Black has been like, wow, every other action game combat system is shitty, actually. And this is the conclusion that I've come to. I've realized, Brian, that I was not being hard enough. I was being too lenient on the rest of the genre. And the reason for this, and I had to think about it because Gio wrote about it and he was like, this feels weird to me as someone who hasn't played this game. But it's different, and it is unique, and it's very much itself. And I was like, yes. And that's good. But what makes Ninja Gaiden unique, and I had to sit there and think about this because I've been thinking about how I'm going to write this review, is Ninja Gaiden does the Devil May Cry thing, which is you are the coolest dude on the screen at all times. You are the coolest thing on the screen, right? Which is not true in basically any other modern action game that is not Devil May Cry or not Bayonetta.
Pretty much.
Like,
and even Bayonetta 3 kind of straddled that line in a lot of ways because that's a whole rant.
That's a whole nother thing, right? But, and Brian and I have talked about this. Brian made a really good point about, I was talking about how I was feeling about it, and he was like, yeah, man, like, in a Souls game, the focus is not on you, right? You're in a boss fight, the focus is on the boss. He is the cool person, or she is the cool person, or it, the monstrosity, right? When you were fighting Father G in Bloodborne, Father G is cooler than you.
Absolutely.
When you were fighting Jolteon in Bloodborne, Jolteon is cooler than you.
Mm-hmm.
You know what boss I'm talking about.
I
Yes.
know exactly what boss you're talking about.
My friends and I nicknamed basically every boss in every Souls game. They are all cooler than you. Their moveset is more interesting than yours. You respond to them.
Father G is so cool. I've been saying shit he said in his 5-second intro for the past however many years. Be so of the shop.
My fondest memory of Father G is watching Gaiden, who Brian knows because he's in a fighting game Discord with us, who is very good at action games, just get his ass beat by Father G for like 3 hours.
He is the first roadblock boss in that game. He's really hard.
Yep.
And I was thinking about the way we design action games, right? And I think a large part of it goes into kind of the design of parries. And I promise I'll bring this back to Ninja Gaiden in a second. Whereas the modern action game is really heavily designed around parrying. Doing the parry, right? Like, and the thing is, parries are really cool in fighting games because there's another person pressing the buttons. They can delay their timings. They can do things in a very specific way that makes it very difficult, right? They can do nothing.
And doing 15 parries in sequence is the coolest shit you will ever see.
You will ever see in a video game. But in a single-player game, a parry becomes a timing test. Can you react to this startup, right? And this is not against, I said that like all other action game combat systems are garbage, and I'm not really being serious, but I think this is a major problem because 9 times out of 10, the parry is the answer, if you can do it. Right? And if you can't do it, the answer is iframes on my dodge. And then I punish you, right?
There's a reason there is an entire like speedrun category in Souls games of like no hit. Like you go through the entire game and you never get hit because they just parry everything.
Yeah.
It's optimal.
It is the optimal way to play, right? You don't have to play that way, but if we think about games are path of least resistance, like inevitably they will be solved. That is the way you solve them. Ninja Gaiden is not like that. You are the coolest thing on the screen at all times. Your moveset is just as complicated as any of the bosses, any of the dudes you're going to fight. And you can't parry. You don't do that. You don't even have like a dodge with iframes the way that something like Souls has. You have a step. You block, and then you can step in a direction. Or you can roll, if it's Ninja Gaiden 1. And the other thing that makes Ninja Gaiden unique compared to something like Devil May Cry or Bayonetta, is the dudes in Ninja Gaiden, you kicked their dog. You said something about their mama, they want you dead.
They're all John Wick.
They want you dead.
Oh yeah.
You
Devil
killed
May
all
Cry
their birds
enemies?
in the original Ninja Gaiden too, and they're pissed off.
Yeah. But like Devil May Cry enemies, right, will stand still. They will stand still and they will wait for you. And they will attack you while you're doing like startup or something. Or if you Mitch Saltzman did a really great video on this when he talks about why Ninja Gaiden Black is so good. And he's comparing it to other action games. If you look at like Metal Gear Rising Revengeance, they wait for you. They will just stand there and circle you. Stuff in Ninja Gaiden will try to kill you. So you have a combination of, I'm the most powerful character on screen at any given moment. Everybody wants me dead. Dodging is difficult. Mostly what you do is you like block a couple of attacks. It also has a block button, which most like core action games do not have anymore. And then you step, right? During the part of the combo you know that they're going to do, and then you hit them. And what this does is this creates like, we call action game combat like a dance, right? And I think that's true in Souls games or Batman or whatever, where you're kind of like moving around and you're doing stuff. In Ninja Gaiden, you are a conductor. And the combat arena is your symphony. And you just paint. Whatever the picture is, you make this beautiful music with the tools that you have. And the thing is, like, I understand why people don't like it, because like people have been like, wow, this is really hard. Yes, it is. Because it's built on a fighting game. If you think of Ninja Gaiden as a fighting game, it makes way more sense. You don't have a dodge. You have a backdash. You can block. Your moves, you have combos on your weapons. And your goal is not to be flashy the same way as in Devil May Cry or Bayonetta. Your goal is to kill things as efficiently as you can. Because if you don't, you will die.
If you don't kill them, they're going to keep coming at you.
They will kill you. And so what Ninja Gaiden 2 does is on top of all this, it adds the delimbing system, right? Where you cut dudes' arms off, you cut their legs off, and they crawl at you and try to stab you with exploding shurikens. So you have to constantly be like, who do I need to get rid of? Because once I cut that dude's arm off, he is more dangerous. Because if he grabs me, a third of my health is going away. And so you are constantly just chaining together all these combos, using all these different weapons, constantly delimbing people, charging your ultimate techniques. And when you understand the way that game works, you will not be touched. You will just carve through everything. And it feels incredible. No other.
Like the closest modern comparison we have is Doom Eternal, if I'm honest.
Yeah, honestly, yes.
Because that is the most just, there is a lot going on. You will die. Your resources are limited, but powerful. You have to quickly assess the threat and go, I need to deal with this to get this. But this will make my resource low. I go deal with you to deal with that, to get my resource back, to do this, etc., etc. It's that kind of dance. And when you do it right and do it quick, you just mow through everything in the most satisfying way possible.
Mm-hmm.
But if you fuck up, it can get pretty bad pretty quick.
Yeah. And it really, I mean, it encourages you to be like, hey, you need to learn how this works. And the other thing is, like, it has a different fundamental design, I think, than we've got from like most action games. If we're using Souls, it's like the basis for the modern action game, which it is. Where, hey man, if you're struggling in a Souls game, go somewhere else. Go kill some dudes. Go farm some souls. Change your equipment. Ninja Gaiden's core belief is you will understand how this encounter works or you will not progress. That is what it is. Like, hey, you maybe you change your weapon, you can change your Nimpo, like you have things that you can alter, but functionally, like, you will understand how this encounter works or you will not progress. And having a game that is like, listen, look how powerful you are, but this is still difficult. You are complete control of everything at any given time. It feels incredible. Cutting through enemies in that game feels incredible. Like, we talk about feedback, right? Like, I think the dopamine high off of, like, going through a room in Ninja Gaiden is essentially the same thing as having, like, a glass of scotch. It feels amazing. And then you're like, cool, I get to do that again. But also, it's a video gamey-ass video game. You climb a clock tower. You jump on the gears. You run across the wall. It's also campy as hell. At one point, you're fighting a giant werewolf in the Colosseum, surrounded by like 2,000 other werewolves. And he comes out and he's like, who wants to see him die? And the werewolf's like, yeah! And then he's like, who do you want to kill him? And they're like, you! So then he comes down with a big-ass scythe, and you fight in the Colosseum. It's campy as hell. I don't know. We need more action games. It is unfathomable to me that this is like the only thing that plays like this.
Will, did you ever play Sekiro?
No.
Okay. I'd be really curious to see what you thought of that.
Sekiro still leans into arguably the same issue in that it is all parries, all of that. And that's that's not a problem necessarily, but like it's also just it's very much a From game, and I love From games, don't get me wrong, but so much of basically from Demon's Souls onward, and even before that with Kingsfield and such, so much of it is disempowerment.
Mm-hmm.
It is, you are weak, you are pathetic, the world is so much bigger and scarier than you, but God damn it, you can and will persevere.
Yeah.
And that's cool. That's awesome. The thing is, that's what everyone took away from, and now everyone is doing that regardless, save for, again, your very handful of rare games like your Dooms and your Devil May Cry's and such.
Yeah, I'm just curious because it leans into some aspects of what he was talking about. And I'm interested if, like, bridging part of that gap between Souls and Ninja Gaiden would do anything for him. Because as the wolf, like, I think it's arguable whether you're the coolest person in the room. And it is definitely you will master this mechanic or you will not go anywhere. And because of that, I feel like some of the highs in the fights in Sekiro are higher than the fights in the Souls games, I think. Like, I'm not going to forget my fight against Genichiro. Like, that's just not...
That fight is hyped to watch people play.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That fight was fucking crazy, dude. Because you're just like, you start it and you're like, how the fuck is this even possible? And then by the end, it's like, I beat him and I think he touched me like maybe once or not at all. And it's just like, I am a god. No one even approaches my level. Like, you know, it's like that feeling that, and it's been so long since I've played Ninja Gaiden, but like the idea of like, you motherfuckers do not know who you're messing with, and you all got outplayed, and now you walk out of a room and it's just viscera all over the walls. And it's just like, this is what happens when you cross me. That's what happens, you know.
It's the you know, the running joke that my wife and I have is, surely I will be the dude that kills John Wick.
Yeah.
Which is every person in Ninja Gaiden, right? They're like, I'm going to be the dude that kills the Dragon Ninja. And Ryu's like, it's a good argument. My counter argument is the Zuna drop.
Yeah.
Like, sir, I'm going to drop you on your head.
I'm not going to sugarcoat it.
Spin while I do it.
And but like, it's all these things, right? It's the combination of like this, there's platforming, there's exploration. Like, it's a linear game still, but you know, there's moments where you're just doing wall running stuff. Like, you're not constantly just going from encounter to encounter. And I think
back when games were brave enough to let you wall run.
Yeah.
Cowards, bring it back.
Or like, you know, just bird flip between the walls and be like, cool, this ladder's broken. I'm just going to do the coolest ninja shit you've ever seen.
Yeah.
Right? And I think what's interesting about Black specifically...
No yellow paint in sight.
No, you will figure it out. I mean, there is admittedly like a little button that you can press that's like, hey, you should go this way.
Sure.
But, you know, there's no like yellow paint there. It's just like, hey, you should go in this direction, right? And sometimes it's like, you need to go in this direction, but you're not going to understand what that means. Sometimes that means you need to stand here and bird flip. You're not going to think you can bird flip up this column. You can. Sometimes that means like, hey, there is something here that you don't see that you need to kind of figure out real quick. Like, maybe you need to go underwater. And I think what's really fascinating about it, just from a preservation standpoint, is it's neither Ninja Gaiden Sigma 2 nor Ninja Gaiden 2. It is somewhere in between. So if you've never been part of this conversation, purists hate Sigma games, hate them. Because, especially for 2, because basically what it did was it lowered the enemy count, buffed their health, made them less aggressive. So the combat spaces were designed for huge numbers of enemies that are very aggressive but fairly low health. So you're just like, you know, constantly cutting through them. Sigma 2, the PlayStation 3 couldn't handle that. It couldn't handle the blood. They took it out, made it more like 1. But it's not the way the combat system is designed, so it feels weird. And this is more like, hey, I know this isn't exactly like Ninja Gaiden 2, but it's closer. Right? Like, it walks this really nice balance of, like, we've taken out some of the bad changes. Like, we added these 2 really big bosses. At one point, you fight the Statue of Liberty. That's gone.
Not since Shredder's Revenge have I fought the Statue of Liberty.
You fight like a giant Buddha. That's gone. They changed the way the weapon upgrade system works back to the original game. It looks stunning. That's the other thing. Is like people are like, this is a remaster. No. They rebuilt this game in Unreal Engine 5. It looks incredible. But like functionally, I think what really draws me to it, and the reason I'm enjoying it so much is, Gio wrote that piece and his argument is basically like Ninja Gaiden doesn't care if you like it. It is itself. People are going to complain about the camera, and it's like, I understand that to an extent, but it also is just like, you will learn how to use the camera, and it will not bother you anymore. You are going to learn how to step in these situations. You are going to learn how to not get thrown. Because when you get thrown in Ninja Gaiden, you feel like an idiot. Because these throw animations are long. The boss just like picks you up and is like, bam, 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 up against the ground, and then I'm like drop kicking you, and you're sitting there for this 10-second throw animation like, can't believe he threw me again. So it's all these things that, like, you feel bad when you lose, but you are super powerful, and all you have to do is figure out the right answer to this one thing that's, like, push and pull, and rewards you for playing, and rewards you for knowledge, rewards you for understanding how the weapons work. And we don't make games like that anymore. And playing it is just, like, a non-stop adrenaline high, and I cannot wait for Ninja Gaiden 4. But yeah, I've been playing Ninja Gaiden 2 Black, and I don't know what else to say other than, like, action games in 2008 were amazing before we kind of homogenized everything, and we need to be less homogenized. Thank you guys for letting me talk about Ninja Gaiden for 20 minutes.
You got it.
I find it fascinating as ever just to hear your insight on this stuff.
Thank you, Kris. But yeah, you guys should play it. Especially if you have Game Pass and you're listening to this and you're like, I've never played Ninja Gaiden, go download Ninja Gaiden 2 Black right now. Play it on like one of the lower difficulties. It'll be fine. I promise you we'll get through it. Enjoy the camp. Enjoy one of the greater fiends quoting Shakespeare at you and being like, I give you guys fire. Don't you think it was kind of wrong to exile me? And Ryu being like, I don't care. And then killing him. Like, it is incredible camp. And amazing. Just go play it. Just go play Ninja Gaiden.
I love it. All right. Speaking of things that came out a little while ago, but I didn't start playing until recently, I've been playing Dragon Ball Sparking Zero.
It's a good video game.
Yeah. I thought this would have been right up your alley when it came out. So.
Yeah, I think what it was is I was covering different stuff, so I didn't have time. So it
was a busy year. I get it.
Yeah, and so I didn't reach out and stuff like that after Evo as much as I probably should have. But I'm playing this and the season pass 1. So Will and I have both played this, and I don't know how many others. If the others of you have played.
Not Sparking Zero, but I have played other Budokai Tenkaichis, so I'm vaguely familiar with it.
But if I'm not mistaken, Will, you haven't played any of the DLC characters?
No.
Okay.
I've only played the base roster.
Okay.
And the pre-order characters.
You haven't played the superhero pack from the movie Dragon Ball Superhero?
Bro, I haven't even seen Superhero yet.
Yeah.
I know. Just take my Dragon Ball fan card away. I'm a bum.
It's fine. It's fine. Hey, Will, we are taking your card, but you are welcome to come back and claim it at Will Call anytime. Just bring your ticket stub from Dragon Ball Superhero.
I hate to inform you of this, Brian, but that film is no longer in a theater near you.
What? What?
You are now relegated to home video.
What year is it?
Man, I'm still amazed that friggin' Super Broly was in film theaters here. Like,
yeah,
that was
what a fucking banger, dude!
Astonishing. So good.
That one I did see in theaters.
What a goddamn banger, dude! And by the way, surprising fucking nobody who's ever talked to me or played me in Dragon Ball Fighters, Gogeta is like peak.
He's so cracked.
I fucking love this character, and I love all of the supers that they gave him. I'm like right now, he's the character to beat for me. But I have been going into the DLC characters. So they have Piccolo, they have the androids, not those androids. They have like oh God, what was their names? It's like number 1 and number 2, something like that.
I was just writing about this stupid thing, and I can't remember their names all of a sudden.
1 and 2.
Because they were never as cool as 17 and 18.
No, they're not. They're not. I mean, by the end of the movie, I was like, oh, okay. Oh, Gamma 1 and Gamma 2.
Yeah, let's go. I was right.
Yeah. I mean, they are cool. By the end of the movie, I was like, all right, I'm a fan. Like, they're cool. They're very cool.
Yeah, and 17 and 18 have had a hell of a lot longer and a wider arc in order to actually be built up in our minds. So, yeah.
And let's be real, 17 is only as cool as he is now because he's the fucking MVP, you know?
Yeah.
Come on. Super gave us
he
a lot
cool
of garbage.
At the time, and then Super just built on that.
Super
like,
made
by the way,
17 like awesome. What a G. But anyways, yeah, so I've been playing.
Yeah, I'm sick of destruction. I'm just gonna go be a park ranger now.
Yeah. What a beast,
Why not?
man. What a beast. Fighting off poachers? Hell yeah. Let's get it. Which by the way, that is a super fun like the way that they work actually functionally makes sense in Sparking Zero. Because they can't charge ki, it just constantly fills up.
Right.
Because that's the whole story, is that they're modified humans that have infinite energy. Like they just never run out of stamina, which I think is really cool. And it's sick that they use that in the Tournament of Power, because like that is a huge advantage that they have as fighters. All they have to do is survive until everybody else gets tired, and then they win. You know, super awesome. But yeah, I'm having a blast with it. I've played through all of the Saiyan arc as Goku, and then opened up a bunch of different characters. I do find it interesting that in this story mode, you can like do that and then jump straight to Goku Black, which is really weird. So
I suppose they wanted to at least open up a quick segue into Super stuff, because that's, you know, relatively new and current, and the old heads, you know, the old heads know, but the newer people, leaves may not.
Yeah. But yeah, it's interesting. It's fun. Definitely having more time to sit down with it than we did at Evo. Getting like more of a feel for it. I have a much greater appreciation for it now, which is nice, and it's fucking gorgeous. Like it's ridiculous. Like I think probably the only Dragon Ball game that looks better than this is Fighters. But like, man, the effects on all of the like key charge stuff or special supers and stuff is just really impressive. Particularly because I've been playing it on my Steam Deck, and it still runs really well. You just have to do a little bit of graphical tweaking, and it works totally fine.
Good stuff.
But yeah, Gohan Beast, super fun. So much characterization in the animations. It's really, really cool. And the fact that they have, I was going through the character roster, because I don't remember everybody that was revealed earlier, but going through there and being like, okay, I got Trunks with the sword, I got Future Trunks, and then I saw some of the big enemies, and then Tapion came up, and I was like, bro, if they have a Hirudegarn, I'm gonna flip my shit, and they do. He's totally in it.
Yeah, he's been in there for a while in the series.
Yeah, it's fucking crazy, man. But I was just like, yeah, it's really exciting. And there's a lot of characters that come in it in the season 1 pass, and I'm excited to see like what continues with this. I'm way more excited for a game like this to get like ongoing support than I am for something like Xenoverse and Xenoverse 2, just because this has a combat system that I am into. Whereas those just never clicked with me. So yeah, but
this one is closer to a fighting game,
Yeah.
Given that was the origin point of it.
And like this, I have history. Like I played the Budokai games. I played the Budokai Tenkaichi games. So, this is something that I have a history with, which I knew at the time, but like playing through it, doing the story mode, seeing like the ridiculous levels of fidelity here, it's really fun. So if anybody wants to throw down, let me know. It's just big, dumb fun.
I want to get a hold of it eventually.
I love it.
Yeah.
I remember playing, I think it was Tenkaichi 2. It came out on the Wii around launch.
Yeah.
That was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. Either 2 or 3, maybe both. I had one of them, and I played that a bunch with my brothers on the Wii, and it was awesome.
Yeah. Really fun. Really fun. I highly recommend it. And if you're looking for like more, having like more stuff going into it with the season pass, I think is really cool.
There's gonna be a lot of Daima stuff in the next ones, probably.
Yeah. I was very interested to see that like they have Kid Goku, and then they also have Daima Goku, and then they also have GT Goku. And it's like,
of course,
this is good because they all have like different fighting styles. And being able to kind of embrace that and have like Kid Gohan and then Teen Gohan and then Great Saiyaman and then Ultimate Gohan and then Gohan from Superhero and Gohan Beast. It's just, I don't know. It seems excessive. Like there's so many jokes from even Dragon Ball FighterZ of like how many Gokus you have on your team. But like, the different...
When you have a series that long running and with that many different stages and power-ups and such, trying to cram it all into one character, it's just like... Nah, just spread it out a bit.
Especially a game that's like as straightforward and kind of simplistic as this game is. It just wouldn't work. So like playing as Goku and having access to Kaioken is like, that's sick. Like that's one of the coolest techniques.
It's less egregious than in Fighters because Fighters is smaller roster, and when more of it is Goku, you're just like, okay, come on, guys.
Yeah.
Here's just like a big toy box.
Yeah.
But that's all I have to say about that right now. But I'm gonna keep playing it, and I'll check back in later.
Has there ever been a DBZ game, because this just came to mind randomly, has there ever been a DBZ game that actually did a good Great Ape fight? Because I don't think there is. And every time, a while back, just because Sparky Zero was out and I didn't have the money for it, I'm just like, I'm just going to play Xenoverse 2 for a bit, because I didn't play that much of it. And I immediately hit, the Saiyan arc, and then you fight the Great Apes. I'm just like, done. Stop. Don't enjoy this. And I swear this is the case of pretty much every time they come up. I'm just like, is there ever a game that manages to pull it off?
It's probably pretty cool in the one Monolith Soft made, but that was a turn-based RPG, so...
Yeah.
I mean...
Cool sprites.
I'm not trying to, like... I guess I am kind of steel-manning the argument, but, like... Uzaru Vegeta is so much more powerful than Goku that, like... being totally outclassed in the fight kind of makes sense.
I get that, but it's also just not fun as a result.
Yeah.
You don't have the means of doing anything. They just armor through everything and then just go, okay, cool, bap. And I mean, accurate, sure. Actually fun and engaging to play, not really.
Yeah.
Much skill expression, fuck no.
Yeah. I was really disappointed with the way that fight happened in Sparking Zero, because they lead in with like, all right, I just need to do a spirit ball. And I kept trying to like charge up and then run away and charge up and then run away and charge up. And I'm like, when am I going to get like the like purple attack for my spirit bomb? And it never happened. And turns out you have to beat him and then you do it, but it happens just like in a cutscene or something. And I'm like, this is so stupid. Like, why not have it where I'm doing like hit and run stuff to try to charge up Ki, and then like,
as an alternate win condition, it makes sense.
So I don't know. That would have been really cool. But
well,
maybe next time.
Maybe next time. Maybe one day somebody will get it right.
Yeah. All right. Kris, do you have anything you want to jump into real quick?
I don't have a hell of a lot because I was still doing, GOTY prep and everything, but I suppose I'll talk about a pair of demos I played from the RTS Fest. So following last week's discussion, I promptly went and downloaded the Tempest Rising demo. Because yes, I wanted to play Command & Conquer, and boy, am I playing Command & Conquer when I play Tempest Rising.
You sure are, baby.
Oh, I love it. I love it.
We're back.
We've never been more back. Yeah, if you're at all interested in Command & Conquer and haven't touched the Tempest Rising demo yet, it'll feel pretty damn good to do so. So, still just like skirmish or versus with 3 maps and 2 of the factions. They're adding a 3rd one like after release, I think. Yep. But there's a lot. It's not quite as simplistic as some of the Command & Conquer games were in terms of mechanics and such. There's a lot more going on. It feels like they've incorporated bits of, like Generals Zero Hour and later games as well. Extra sidebars, cooldowns, special abilities, and extra resources and such. There's a lot, and you're not going to get it all in the first attempt as you figure it out and navigate it, especially because it's just skirmish and multiplayer. You don't have like a campaign to ease you in or a tutorial to do anything like that. But once you get a feel for it and start playing around with some of it and all the different units and such, man, it's good. I like the vibe, I like the look, I like the sound, I like the variety in units and different strategies and such. It's a real good time, and was super happy to play that and get a feel for it. And I went and said, I give this game the highest honor I possibly can. If they don't fuck up the campaign, this is the actual Command & Conquer 4.
Yeah.
And yeah, I stand by that. It's a good time, but we'll have to see how the overall thing shakes up when it drops in April and such.
So I have a question.
Yes.
Because Will and I have already talked a bunch about this because we both covered this pre-release.
Yeah.
We have our predilections. I'm curious, do you gravitate towards one of the factions or another?
So prior history has me gravitate towards the Dynasty, but that's because I played Nod previously in earlier games. I'm not sure yet if I still feel that. There's aspects of them I like, but I'm not, and none of it is clicking so much. Like none of them, I don't just immediately latch onto it. Like when I played StarCraft, I played Zerg, like, yes, this is it. I am Zerg now. That hasn't happened for either of the factions yet. I like them both. I like aspects of them both. I'm still leaning slightly towards the Dynasty, but I'm not 100% sure yet. So what do you guys lean towards? What's the perspective?
I'm Dynasty all the way.
I think I like the GDF more because I like the kind of the more I guess they're more traditional, right?
Yeah, they are.
The Dynasty reminds me of like there's generally less stuff, but it's more flexible, where I want my units to have like very clear and defined roles. And as terrible as it is, like I'm ultimately not a Command & Conquer guy. I'm a Blizzard RTS guy. The GDF reminds me of Terrans.
Yeah,
I'm gonna play Terrans.
That's fair. Yeah, no, I can definitely see that. There's aspects. What I really like about the Dynasty is that they do something which I don't think any other RTS in this style has done. Is that infantry is secondary, vehicles are first.
Yeah,
and you literally the first thing you do is build a machine shop in order to build your harvesters, which rather than just typical build order in a game is going to be power plant, harvester, barracks, whatever. You get your refineries out early and then go from there. Here they're like, no. First thing you do before you build a barracks or anything like that is build the vehicle shop. And then you can build the refinery out of that because they're mobile. And I'm like, okay, that's interesting. And then they kind of flip the switch and that their infantry are very powerful and very specialized. They still have your grunt units and such. But your specialist units feel a lot more late game and powerful, whereas your vehicles are just kind of filler. And again, you still have some of your high-end stuff like your fucking spheres. Those are so dumb. I love them.
Oh my god. Those featured prominently in my preview at IGN.
As they should. It's so dumb. But yeah, it's just interesting that they've kind of flipped it around, whereas normally your infantry is your filler and then you're aiming towards a couple of powerful vehicles. They kind of flip it around, which is unique, and I dig that. So that's worth noting at least. But yeah, I kind of lean towards them, but I'm still not 100% sure yet. I need to need to play around with it a bit more.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
But that wasn't the only RTS demo I played. So, following that, and a couple of days in, like not immediately in the RTS Fest, but a couple of days after, a game that I've had my eye on for a while actually dropped a demo, and that is Zero Space. Is anyone familiar with this one?
I have heard of it, and it looks really cool, so I'm very interested in what you have to say about it.
Okay, so I will preface this by saying it is a really fucking early alpha build. They know it, they say it, they make that very clear. And
oh, interesting.
This is so effectively much like how Stormgate is trying very much to be, you know, the StarCraft 3 we never got. Zero Space is also that. It's made by people who, and with support from the community of StarCraft 2 players and devs and such like that, who are trying to do their own thing. And both are early, both are, you know, don't present the best foot forward as a result. But Stormgate is further along when we got to touch that, and I'm still not... admittedly, I have not gone back to Stormgate since they've done a lot of patches since our initial discussion Will and I had several episodes back at this point, quite a while. But go back and listen to that, check it out. It's yeah, I haven't touched it since. They've done some efforts to correct that. Don't know how it is yet. Need to go back to it. But Zero Space
Oh my god. Some of these units are literally just Blizzard RTS units. It's kind of crazy. Like, there's literally a unit that is a fire bat.
Kind of, yeah. But, yeah, so this one, I suppose the ambitions of this one are a little better in that it's clearly made by people who liked the campaigns.
Oh my god, that's a Brutalisk.
Yeah. So, straight up, there are 3 factions. I've only played with 2 of them at the moment. One is just the Terrans. You got humans in space. Then you have the totally not Zerg, we swear, and they're plants instead of bugs. They're kind of cool. I dig them.
Is that why they're not wearing any wearing any clothes, because they gotta breathe through their skin?
Settle down there, Kojima. No, not quite. But yeah, so they have that, and then the third one is called the Legion, and I don't know fully what their deal is. I don't think they're quite Protoss or anything. But anyway, I'm keeping an eye on Zero Space more because a couple of content creators and StarCraft, you know, players and such that I follow. Shout out to Giant Grand Games, who appears in the tutorial as the announcer for the Zero Space demo. Also are working on this, and they've consulted on it and helped out with that. So there is a bigger focus on the campaign and fleshing that out in the way that Wings of Liberty did. And that shines through because there are 2 missions currently available in the campaign of the demo. And very early on, obviously very shaky, very alpha and such, but you can see they're trying very hard to do a lot of world building, a lot of character development. There's actually choices you can make in between things that can change outcomes and cutscenes and such. And in a lot of ways, it gives me actually Mass Effect vibes in how it's trying to set up the universe and the different aliens and factions and such, while also trying to be StarCraft or StarCraft-esque. And again, very rough. I cannot stress this enough. Go in with expectations tempered by that. But I'm definitely curious to see where this one lands because they're aiming big, and I hope they can pull it off. Because multiplayer RTS is good. I like that. But Wings of Liberty is remembered more for the campaign than the multiplayer at this point. Brood War, not so much, although people should remember that campaign better. But StarCraft 2's campaign was really fucking good. The mission design, the variety in mechanics and such, and again, epitomized in Wings of Liberty, the 2 expansions, less so for different reasons, but yeah. And in all the time that RTS has kind of gone away, everyone that tries to bring it back goes, oh yeah, we can do that. Let's focus on the multiplayer and esports and all that. And it's like, no. That has to happen naturally, and it develops granularly. StarCraft never went in intending to become what it was. It was a very cool game at the time. It happened to have multiplayer, and some people in Korea happened to take it and run with it. And then they built off that afterwards. but the community did that first. It wasn't Blizzard's intent. You need to let this shit grow naturally. You just give them the tools to do that. And I think Zero Space understands that, and I am very curious to see how it goes. So, yeah, the demo is up now on Steam. Worth checking out. A couple of missions, a couple of... it has a similar system to the co-op from StarCraft 2, which, again, big plus. Just a kind of shorter, repeatable missions with a progression system and almost like a Helldivers 2 kind of galaxy map where you can pick a faction and kind of increase your control and such. Again, very early, very, needs working on, but you can see the idea. And of course, you have skirmish and multiplayer mode you can check out there as well. And yeah, there's a lot of cool things to it. And I dig it more than I did Stormgate, whereas Stormgate just made me want to go play StarCraft 2. Zero Space makes me go, I still want to play StarCraft 2, but I'm keeping an eye on this one. So that's what I have to say about that.
Nice, I dig it.
Again, I need to go back and play more Stormgate and see how they've updated it, because they did listen to a lot of feedback. And I can hope. I would rather both games be awesome and there be a massive RTS resurgence,
Yeah.
That would be pretty sick.
Tempest Rising is paving the way, so...
Yeah, we know we got at least one of those, so that's something.
I think the highlight of all of these demos for me, though, was just playing Tempest Rising and just immediately the music kicks in. I'm like, my boy Frank, it's good to hear from you again.
He's done it again.
The Tiberian sun himself.
Nice. Good stuff. Yeah, it's a good time to be an action game fan. It's a good time to be an RTS fan.
Last year was a good time for RPGs, so yeah.
Yeah.
Everyone's getting something.
It's good. It's very good. Lucas, what do you got?
Yo. I played 2 games for review this week. One of them got the lowest score I think I've given to a video game in actual years.
Nice.
I can't remember the last time I gave something a 4, but that sure did happen this time.
We're into the forbidden numbers.
Yeah.
Now, 4 is the lowest score you've ever given?
No. I just can't
But in
remember the
the
last time. Yeah. It's been a long time.
I think the lowest I ever gave was a 2. That game
I
does
gave
given
it
a
2
2.
once.
Yeah.
I think the lowest I ever gave was a 3. Yeah.
For me, it was a shitty mobile game that actually made my wrist hurt. And it's like, yeah, no, this is shit. This is irredeemable garbage.
So I made a joke about Star Wars to kick things off. That's because I played a bad Star Wars game. So back in like the late 90s, early 2000s, LucasArts was just pumping these fucking things out.
As they did.
Yeah.
Some more bangers.
Yeah. Some. Very
Some.
very few. But like,
and I got most of them because I lived over in Singapore at the time, and I could just go down to the little stall behind the McDonald's and buy them for like 75 cents a piece.
Brian out here, like, I went to the dumpster and I talked to the man with the big coat.
I did.
And he gave me Jedi power battles.
He did. Real talk. I got Jedi power battles with my PS1 because
Man.
Go.
I was just gonna say, because the thing I had was it was a modded PS1, and I got the PlayStation and 30 games for $300 Sing, which was a fucking steal.
Hell yeah.
See, this is the important question, Lucas. Is it based on the Dreamcast version or the PS1 version?
Based on the Dreamcast version.
Oh, so it has in the first level, it has that little extra thing to make the jump possible.
Maybe.
Interesting. I've only played the PS1 version.
So this is, if you know, but I think it's in either level 1 or level 2. You're trying to jump onto this conveyor belt. And you're in like this industrial complex. The PS1 version, There is no, like, there's a little ramp that they added in the Dreamcast version to make the jump easier, because it's very possible to just die repeatedly trying to jump to the conveyor belt, because it's like
absolutely
at the maximum distance of your jump.
Yeah,
because the jump in this game is dog shit.
It is awful.
I mean, yeah, this game is
it's not great.
It likes to meme on you with a jump.
It's better in co-op. Lucas had to play it by himself. That is suffering.
That's not fair.
I don't know. For reasons I'll get into in a second, co-op would not have saved this experience. So I guess to just lay it out, this game is kind of like, it's got beat 'em up energy, kind of. It's like a 3D action game, kind of top down ish from like an angle. You pick your little Jedi. You run across the levels. Droids come at you. You have to beat them up. And I think the gimmick is that it's supposed to be like an arcadey game, but with like vaguely serious lightsaber combat.
Vaguely serious.
Vaguely serious.
Emphasis on like vaguely.
Yeah, because you can't just like run through and mash the button and get through it fine. You have to, like, when you run into a space and there's enemies, you do have to kind of like stop and respond to them or like engage with them. Like you have to block, they'll block you. You have a horizontal attack and a vertical attack and like a heavy attack, I guess. And it's based on episode 1. So a lot of it is like they'll do a little flippy twirly do before they actually bring the lightsaber down. So you have to kind of compensate for that, or you'll just get like smacked out of it. Your attacks will be different if you're moving before you do them versus standing still. There's force powers, I guess. There's like a grenade you can throw. And I think most importantly, you get shot at a lot. And if you block properly, you'll deflect the laser, kind of like in the movie.
Lucas, did you watch episode 1 for research purposes before you played this game?
No,
but I watched the movie plenty when I was a kid, so yeah.
He did his time.
How can we trust this review? He has not done his due diligence as a critic, you know. I need to know if
I did due diligence in this, and I'm gonna get there because that's important. So like, yeah, basically the game sort of starts out like a beat 'em up, but then it kind of devolves into like droids are just gonna shoot at you and you have to block the lasers. And there's things about it that are kind of confusing, like about like what does how much damage to you, and the pickups are kind of weird. The sound effects are really weird. But I think there's an angle where it's like, obviously this is being re-released for all the people who like played this game when they were a kid and they liked it. It's like the mid Star Wars game I had back in the day was Episode 1 Racer, and I thought that
nothing
was
mid
cool.
about that game.
That is actual blasphemy.
Wait, I'm sorry, I missed it. Wait, what?
I said Episode 1 Racer was mid.
What?
All those games were mid. Even
no,
if it was like
that game is not mid.
Episode 1 Racer is fucking peak.
Okay. The track design in that game is actually quite good.
It is a very competent racer, and it does an extremely good job of what it does. Like, real talk, that game actually slaps. It did then, it does now, and yeah.
All right.
I think we have to excommunicate Lucas.
Yep.
Okay, bye.
No.
We gotta.
No, wait, come back.
Hold on, be right back. We gotta shoot Lucas into the sun, guys. That's fine.
I think we're gonna kill this guy, Brian.
Damn.
The point is, I like that game well enough. It was the one I played. And when that got re-released, I was like, oh, that's neat. This game, I didn't know what the hell it was. But there are telltale signs that not only is this game not great, it's also just like a dog shit version of the game.
It has 81% on Steam. How is that possible?
What?
Yeah, straight up.
Being like, I liked this game when I was a kid.
Must have, yeah.
So yeah, it's a port that's kind of enhanced. I don't think they're calling it a remaster. It is widescreen. It looks like absolute garbage. The textures and character models are just kind of blown up to high res without any sort of treatment, so they look awful. They're jittery, they're ugly, they have really weird proportions. Um, it's just gross looking. The UI looks like placeholder assets, especially like in the menus before you get in the game. It's like you look at it and it's like, oh, this is like default on whatever like game engine you played for. That's just like text boxes and um, so it looks cheap. The sound effects are really like distorted. Like there's like some compression or something going on. They're also not mixed with the music, so they're just extremely loud and they sound like a dying Christmas ornament is playing them. um and it's horrible. Like you pick up a health pickup and it plays like a Yoda laughing sound effect, and then Yoda's not anywhere to be seen otherwise, so he just starts like cackling in your ears at max volume. um when you're running and you stop running, they do like a little like like skidding kind of thing, like a Scooby-Doo, except it's like, again, like several degrees of decibel volume louder than anything else in the game. um I compared it to the San Francisco BART in my review because that's what it sounds like every time you stop running. um it's just like everything, every single sound effect. There's a part where you do this like Crash Bandicoot running with dinosaurs, and Jar Jar Binks is there, and he's just yelping every 2 seconds, and it's just, again, it's loud, it overtakes everything else you're doing. It's all staticky. It's just miserable. Um, so yeah, I was just like, I can't believe this is a real video game. This is just like this is torture. I can't stand this. Even there's parts where I was like, I kind of get it. I'm kind of having a little bit of fun knocking these lasers back. I can't really like see half of them. Like the scary spinny droid guys that like they spin in and then they have their handgun things. They look like bugs or whatever. I was
Objectively, the
literally,
coolest droid design ever.
I had to like squint and stare at the screen to see the little like little PNG file lasers as they would come at me because they were
Oh,
like
God.
so hard to see. Um, and then like the second level has this like big maggot boss, and you fight the maggot, and it's got projectiles that are really hard to see because they're like distorted JPEGs again, and they're kind of floating around. And it like wobbles around, like it sits up and it flies down, and like it's really hard to figure out where you can actually hit it in relation to like your lightsaber versus its body or whatnot. And then the first time I killed it, it starts like flailing around, and like the cutscene bars come out, and then like your character model's still standing there, and then there's like collision, and so it would like wobble around and like push my character a little bit, who's just standing there, and then it actually pushed my character off the cliff in the cutscene, and it counted as killing me, and I had to restart the boss fight.
No.
Wow. Nonsense.
Yeah, so a lot of stuff like this. I was just like, okay, I guess I'm just gonna shit on this game.
Nice.
Maybe have some fun with it, kind of like Crime Boss Rocket City a couple years ago or whatever. But I thought, like, you know, there's got to be like something wrong here. There has to be. Like this just feels bad in a way that feels, um, like somebody messed something up. This can't be a game people are excited to play. So I went on one of my favorite websites and I downloaded a Dreamcast ROM for this game and booted up on Flycast and had a CRT filter set up already. And immediately it already looked better, like instantly. Like having the filter kind of darken the colors a little bit, having it smooth down the edges of the character models, hiding the details, running at much lower resolution. The UI assets looked like somebody actually made them instead of like dragging them out of a folder somewhere. So it was like, okay, this looks like a real video game now. So that's nice. Instead of like somebody like booted up a PlayStation emulator and just turned all the sliders all the way up without like looking at what they did. And just having this awful like Frankenstein looking nonsense, spit out the other end.
That produces a very specific mental image in my mind that I can see completely clearly. So yeah.
Oh yeah. Because as a younger version of myself, I literally did that thing when I first started playing with PlayStation emulators, and it don't look good. Also, the sound effects were quiet, and they weren't really tinny and distorted. I could hear the music. So like that was no longer just incredibly distracting and obnoxious. All the other stuff that happened still happened. So like it still had the awful chase scene with dinosaurs and Jar Jar and the Mega Boss, and I didn't play further than that. But it was like, okay, this looks better. It sounds better. It feels a little better. One thing I noticed is like they tweaked the controls a little bit. So like you can play a little faster in the new one because like you can block out of running when before you kind of had to stop and then block. Otherwise you just get hit. So they kind of like mess with the controls a little bit. But otherwise they were just like, yeah, let's we're going down the list of porting all these early 2000 Star Wars games because I guess people demand them now. But not only
you think Disney's going to fund new Star Wars games? Come on.
I mean, that backfired on them a little bit, I guess. Thanks, EA.
Yeah. You can do it, just don't make it exclusive. Fuck's sake. That was the problem. No one else can do it but EA, whereas LucasArts just threw that shit out there to mixed results, but occasionally gold.
Yeah. So it's like it wasn't even like, oh, they did a bare bones port. They just put the game or whatever. It's like that would have been better than whatever. Like they made it worse. In a way that feels very avoidable. I don't know what's going on at Asper. Clearly they're having troubles. They thought they were going to remake KOTOR. That immediately fizzled.
Because you don't need to remake KOTOR, it's great.
I think they messed up their ports of KOTOR as well, at least on the Switch. I think they canceled the DLC or something like that.
They wanted to put in the restored content mod into KOTOR 2, and they were like, we're going to do this, and then they basically didn't do it, and they were like, we'll give people their money back, I guess. And it was like, I don't know how you haven't figured this out. Like, this mod has been around for almost a decade at this point.
You fools.
That's wild. I don't know. I don't know if people, I mean, I guess people are showing up and buying these things and giving this company money. I don't know if they just don't have resources or they just like, this is the hand they're dealt and they don't really want to be doing it, but I don't know.
Is this just contract work while they work on something better? Who knows?
Who knows? But man, if they had just put a ROM in a fancy emulator, like Capcom does, probably would have been fine. But they tried to natively port it and just made it ugly and obnoxious and terrible. And yeah, so I gave it a 4. I was like, this is worse than the original. This feels bad. So that's that.
So, question.
Yeah, you did your due diligence.
Is this a better or worse modern port than the Grand Theft Auto games that came out?
My understanding is they went back and at least did stuff with the Grand Theft Auto ones, but I don't really care about that series, so I haven't played those.
Okay. Yeah, no, they kind of had to because they were the goddamn laughing stock.
Yeah, which they deserve to be because that was just absolutely embarrassing.
Even if it had been just a mobile port, that would have been bad.
Yeah,
but they ported everything else as well.
Some of these re-releases are weird because it's like, I understand, like, in some cases it's like, okay, the source code is not around anymore because they're PS2 games or whatever, right? Fine, that makes sense. So you have to kind of, Square Enix had to rebuild Kingdom Hearts based on vibes, and they did a pretty good job, all things considered.
Yeah.
But then it's like, man, people are weird about emulation, and people will like talk shit if it's like they discover that you re-release a game and it's just a ROM in a fancy package. But like generally when it's a ROM in a fancy package, there's nothing wrong with that. Yeah, it's like cool. You ported the like dying skeleton of this video game that everyone loves, and it's a joke. Or you could have taken the lumps from, the 5 people who care that think emulation is lazy because they're stupid. And you just made a worse thing. So I don't know. Congratulations, I guess.
Yeah.
And I mean, Square Enix is kind of the go-to of people who just throw out their shit and re-emulate it and do all that, constant remasters and such, and massive spread of quality for that, because you get some that are really good, you get the Pixel remasters that are really good, and you get things like the Chrono Cross remaster, which is like, ROM's better, dude. What are you doing?
Or FFX, which is just, looks like ass compared to the original.
It sounds like us. Did not like the remastered soundtrack at all.
Yeah. But anyways, yeah. It's good stuff.
Great game, though. Yeah, unlike some of these Star Wars games, those are actually good games at the baseline, though.
Yeah, FFX is a great game.
Yeah, I don't know why they're porting some of these, and you still have Rogue Squadron 2 on the table, and you choose Jedi Power Battles. What's wrong with you?
It's so
Bounty Star Wars Bounty Hunter, I get. Power Battles.
They clearly, I mean, in all fairness, they clearly did this for me, just me individually, which is...
You and 81% of Steam users from, who went back to their childhood, apparently, so...
I guess. But the funny thing about that is that I didn't even buy it because I ended up winning a key for it on Blue Sky.
Oh my god!
Which is just I literally could have just reached out for a key. I was just signal boosting a contest so more people could enter, and then I got DM'd with a key later.
Drew.
And I was like, wow. All right. I mean, I'm not gonna argue.
Wow.
But yeah. So this is gonna loop back around to what you were talking about, but I just got to premise something. So my wife and I do this thing called Fair Play, which I might have talked about on the show before. Basically, it's a way of divvying up tasks in your house to make sure that you're keeping a roughly equal workload and stuff. I found it to be super helpful because then you don't get into these little arguments around the house of I feel like I'm pulling more of my weight than you are, because it's okay, I got this many daily tasks, I got this many occasional big tasks. One of the cards that I hold is the big questions card, which means that anytime Riley asks a question about God or death or any of that stuff, it's my responsibility to answer that question. And so, my wife sent my daughter over to me, and we have watched the original theatrical Star Wars trilogy with her. My wife sent her over to me and said, why don't you ask Dad about that? And so I'm keying myself up for all right, what's going on with the afterlife? Because she's been on a real kick about that lately, including asking my wife, are we going to take Grammy Donna to the cemetery and bury her in the ground when she dies? Which is my wife's mom. And yeah, so it's pretty wild. But she walked over to me, and I have not mentioned anything about any other Star Wars stuff beyond the original trilogy. And she says, Dada, who's Jar Jar Binks? And I was like, God damn it! God damn it! I would rather.
Audrey, you cruel, malicious individual.
Yeah. And then later on, after she went to bed, we were just doing stuff in the kitchen. and I was telling Audrey, I was like, I would rather have explained to her like why I think we live in a godless universe. And then I kind of like put one and one together and was like, all right, Riley, let me explain to you the reasons why I know there is no God. So a long time ago, George Lucas invents this character called Jar Jar Binks. And it just went on from there. But anyways, when you said Jar Jar Binks, I got thrown back. I got triggered. But anyways, good talk. Good talk, Lucas. My boy Plo Koon, the orange lightsaber wielder.
You can play as Jar Jar Binks in this. They added more characters.
What?
They made the game worse to play and look at. But there's more characters. There's Darth Maul. There's Jar Jar Binks.
Well, I mean, Darth Maul was a character in the original.
Oh, okay.
You just had to beat the game to unlock him.
He's there from the beginning.
Interesting. You might have been able to do a code. I don't know if Will knows the answer to this. You might have been able to do a code to get him after you'd beaten it to get him from the jump in a new game.
This sounds like a PS1 era thing.
I do not remember.
Yeah. Because I definitely know you could play as Darth Maul because after we beat the game, we did that. But I still played as my buddy Plo Koon. Quick question, as somebody who's played it super recently. Because you can play as Adi Gallia in that game, right?
Mm-hmm.
Does she have a pink lightsaber or a red one? I remember her having a pink one, but I don't know if I'm just like Streisand affecting myself.
So
or not Streisand effect. The
Mandela.
Yeah, Mandela affecting myself.
I usually picked Qui-Gon or Mace Windu. Like I scrolled through the whole list and I was like, all right, I don't know who half these motherfuckers are, so I'll just pick, the ones I recognize.
Samuel L. Jackson. Yeah.
Yeah. The one thing though is, I guess in the original Mace Windu only had a blue lightsaber, but in the port you can press a button to make it purple.
That's cool.
Yeah. Because I don't think he actually used his lightsaber until episode 2, which is where he asked for the purple one. So this being episode 1, yeah.
Which lightsaber is yours? It's the one that says "bad motherfucker" on
it. Yeah, there's other characters that I think are also new for the game, but I couldn't tell you which ones.
The original definitely it had Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan and Plo Koon and Adi Gallia and Darth Maul, and I don't think it had anybody else.
I think there's a robot you can play as, one of the droids.
What do they use as a weapon?
Maybe, or someone. I don't know. I didn't pick it. I was like, oh, that's weird. Oh, okay. And I just kept going.
Now I like really want to go and have them guest spot HK-47. That'd be fucking sick.
Up to 4 additional characters are available depending on platform: Queen Amidala, Captain Panaka, Darth Maul, and Ki-Adi-Mundi.
Oh, interesting.
The latter is exclusive to the Dreamcast version. This is from the Wikipedia article.
Interesting.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's cool. That's cool. All right. Let me.
I'm so sorry, Lucas.
let me take it back. So have any of you guys played River City Saga? Like Three Kingdoms or any of those games?
I love the River City Kunio-kun games. I'm just way behind on like the newer ones.
Okay, so you've not played, because this is like a remake or like a port. Three Kingdoms
there was other ones or versions of that before. Yeah.
Okay.
I think I've done a few of them.
Okay, so have you played any of?
No, I've seen them. I've kind of looked at them in action. Just never got around to playing them.
Okay.
But I know of it.
Okay, so I got a key for this. It's being published by Arxis.
Yep. They own all the old Techno stuff now, so they own Kunio, they own Double Dragon. They're doing wonderful things with them.
Yeah, so this is the first of these games that I've played. Mm-hmm. So I wasn't really sure what to expect. But the interesting thing is it kind of hit me like, oh my God, who makes those games? the Liar Princess and the Blind Prince. It kind of reminds me of the follow-up to that, which is the great hero and the Dragon King, I think it's called.
Okay.
Familiar with them, but I haven't played them.
Let's see, Dragon King and Great Hero, Cruel King and the Great Hero. Yeah. But I got vibes, like kind of vibes of those games, which is like an NIS game where, but like with more of the kind of pixelated, like not 3D dot game heroes, but like very, very like stylish art. And then you get into the gameplay and it's like very beat 'em up type thing.
That's River City again.
Yeah. And obviously like it's taking this like River City stuff and then throwing it back into like the Three Kingdoms territory. Yeah. I find this to be so interesting and weird, and I just wanted to kind of like bounce thoughts about this like off of somebody who has more experience with them, since this is like the first, I think this is the first of this type of game. Like I've played a bunch of games that are like adjacent to this. Like it's got some elements where I'm like, yeah, it kind of reminds me of like some stuff that I've played from Vanillaware. It also kind of reminds me of like that, oh my God, the game where you play as 6 different characters. It was a really old remake that they just put out recently. There's somebody in the far future, somebody in the past. Oh my God, why am I spacing on the name right now? It's gonna drive me nuts.
My brain is going in every direction. I can't pick exactly what you're on about here.
I think.
Wait, what are we talking about? I think I've lost the plot.
No, I think we all have. Don't worry about it.
It's a recent game. I think it was Square. Live Alive.
Oh, Live Alive. Fuck.
Yes. Yeah.
You mean like visually?
Exact same moment. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean visually and like kind of almost rhythmically, as far as like what it's. I don't know. Like there were some elements of it where it was like, oh, the way that you're going through the town and talking to people is kind of like, oh, this is kind of like the Chinese martial arts masters like chapter in the Live Alive.
Yeah, I kind of see what you're saying.
And stuff like that. But it's weird. I don't super vibe with it, but I was kind of curious to see if this was like, if this is like a whole thing where everybody gets super into these, and I just kind of wanted to examine kind of the broader context, because just as a like side-scrolling beat 'em up RPG, it feels like it's pulling from a lot of different places, but nothing's really grabbing me.
So is this the first time you've played one of these?
Yeah.
Okay, so you haven't played River City Ransom, you haven't played like Super Dodgeball, anything like that?
I think the only one I've played like River City Girls 2, but that's it, I think.
Okay.
But yeah.
You played Scott Pilgrim though.
Yeah, I mean the Scott Pilgrim.
Yeah. I mean, I played Scott Pilgrim.
That's River City Ransom with Scott Pilgrim slapped on top of it.
Straight up.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I like that.
Yeah, this is just what the series has been doing since back on the Famicom, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, straight up. Yeah, it's like it uses like the beat 'em up as kind of a foundation to do this like pseudo kind of open world kind of thing with some RPG stuff. So it's like you're just this pair of school delinquents going around fighting other groups of school delinquents, and then you go get a burger and it makes your stats go up, and then you go back out and they do silly things like they say barf when they die, and then coins come out, and
nice.
Yeah, it's just like that just kind of quietly has been a series forever. And then there's like sports game spinoffs, some of which are just incredible, like Super Dodgeball. You just like run up and you go to throw the dodgeball, but then it like splits into 4 different balls and starts going all over the screen and hits a guy, and he just goes off into outer space off screen, and he's just flailing, and then 10 seconds later, while you're doing other things, he'll fall back down.
Nice.
And the sprites are really silly looking, and their eyes. It's just very, very goofy.
Okay.
It has a very, very strong,
Big God hand
distinct,
energy.
distinct personality. And when they kept it going, they've always just been like, this is just always going to look like the Famicom games, just with more detail or whatever.
Okay.
So
makes sense.
so yeah, it's one of the, I guess it's one of those things where it either clicks with you or it doesn't, because like those games are pretty similar in terms of like the basic elements.
Yeah. Well, having that, this is why I wanted to talk to somebody who had played them, because that context is important. And instead of comparing it with the like side-scrolling beat 'em ups that I've been playing lately, like because Scott Pilgrim is a very specific thing, and I've never really played anything else like it. So having that and being like, oh, I see what they're doing. That's why they've got all these shops. That's why they've got all this stuff. And I'm like, okay. I'm examining it from the proper space, and I feel like I can continue and like appreciate it for what it's doing. That takes me back there. So yeah. Well, that's cool. That's cool.
Nice.
It's relatively niche, especially in the West, because most of them weren't localized. So you had to be one of us sickos, playing ROM hacks and shit back in the day to actually get a feel for it. Until Way Forward came along and said, "Hey,
yeah, I mean, Arxis got the
here's
rights,
girls."
and they were like, we're just gonna do this thing. We're gonna put out all the Double Dragons, all the Kunio games. We're gonna hook up with Way Forward. They've just been pumping this stuff out. It's crazy. They got another collection coming out that was just announced, Techno Super World or something like that. It's got more of the sports games and other weird stuff on it.
People talk up some of those Tecmo like sports games, and I never played them, but
they're so silly. It's just over the top, like similar vibes to like Windjammers, but less of an arcade game and more like, what if Windjammers was just goofy?
Yeah.
I mean, Windjammers is pretty goofy.
Yeah, but
even more so.
Windjammers is like a series.
What if Windjammers was a Mario sports game?
Yeah, exactly. River City Ransom was just happened to be an NES game I played way back, and I just loved it, and so just through that been aware of that stuff since. Yeah.
Nice.
It's an interesting little piece.
It is.
Absolutely.
Nice. Yeah, so this is the sequel to the River City Saga 3 Kingdoms. And it's like the conclusion.
And a prequel to Dynasty Warriors Origin.
There you go.
Wait, what? There's no real connection.
No.
But it's just the same time period, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
There was one on the 3DS as well, I believe. So it was weird. At one point, Natsume was publishing these. Like after they lost Harvest Moon and started making their own fake Harvest Moon, they were also putting these out.
Just throwing whatever they could at the wall to see if it sticks, and it didn't stick.
Yeah, man. The first time I went to E3, I went to the Natsume booth, and I was like, "Yo, they got Kunio games." I bought one.
Nice. Speaking of Three Kingdoms games, since we've been kind of on a tear with them, with that another game that I talked about a while ago, but that I always think about when people mention Lubu or Three Kingdoms or whatever, is Reign's Three Kingdoms, which is another fun game. If you ever played,
pick that up on your recommendation, actually.
Yeah, if you've never played Reigns is pretty fun. I like it. It's very easy. You just make this or that decisions over and over again, and the way that they mess with the little time loop thing and the meta narrative in Reign's Three Kingdoms, especially, is I like it a lot. So
yeah, it's pretty neat.
Three Kingdoms.
So check that out. Check out Three Kingdoms, River City Saga. Mash on some
Maybe
fools.
check out Dynasty Warriors 8. Maybe
Warriors 8's a good one.
Check out Will's
9.
Check out Will's piece.
Maybe
on
play Origins.
On Origins.
I was pretty happy with that one.
It's fun.
8's got my boy Han Dong in it, and he fights with a boat.
Hell yeah, he does.
That guy's the best.
8 was great. 8 really hit its stride, but then They're like, no, we need to reinvent it and do what everybody else is doing. Here's the shittest open world game imaginable.
Yeah.
And
Nice.
that was 9.
Nice.
Never again.
All right. Kris, I'm gonna guess you don't have anything else, or do you have something?
I'll talk very quickly about something that I can't really weigh in on yet, but I know you want to hear about. So, didn't finish it in time for GOTY, but now I may get the chance to. I started up Skald against the Black Priory.
Ooh.
You were right. I can leave it at that. Honestly, you were right. This nails the Lovecraft writing. This gets the vibe perfectly, and it's cool as shit.
Yeah.
It's really fucking cool. I'm digging it so far. But yeah, still relatively early days, just a few hours in. I got enough to see, yep, I see what you meant about the writing style and the vibe and the art and everything. It's like, yeah, this is really good. I'm definitely curious to see how it all unfurls and where the story goes. But
I would be really, man, if you finish Skald before GOTY and Will finishes 1000X Resist, ooh, this is gonna be a great. I mean, it's already gonna be a great episode, but it's gonna be even better.
Yeah, I did solidify my top 10, and it'll be interesting to see if last minute I just have to shove something out of the way.
Tear it all down. Yeah.
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 Look at a screenshot of Skald, and it's scary.
Oh yeah. Very.
It's like that looks like too much.
I love it. It's so
if you
good.
played if you ever played Loop Hero a few years back, it gives me real that energy.
You know what is hilarious about that? I thought the exact same thing to the extent that I actually played Loop Hero again yesterday.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, because I was just like, this is because it also gets that kind of like cosmic craziness. But yeah, it's great. Another great game, Loop Hero.
Yeah, absolutely. I did replay that a little bit last year before I even saw Skald or anything like that. So yeah, it goes to show it was definitely on the mind. But yeah, Skald definitely leans into the cosmic horror and the Lovecraftian aspect much more and probably better. But yeah, both are good games and both have that similar kind of art style and throwback but not quite style. And yeah, just check them both out.
Absolutely.
But yeah, watch this space. I'll see if I can get it done in time for GOTY, and that'll be interesting to talk about.
I believe in
if
you.
Nothing else.
I believe.
But yeah, that's about it. That's about it for me this week. So
Okay.
everything else was just last minute prep.
Cool. Will, did you have anything else that you wanted to talk about?
Just Ninja Gaiden, baby.
Okay, Lucas, you got anything else?
Yeah, I had one other game.
Okay.
Hit us.
So the other game I reviewed this past week was Phantom Brave: The Lost Hero.
Oh, yeah. I wanted to hear what you thought about this because I have not played this one, but I'm a known NIS sicko.
Yeah. So I was really shocked that this got a sequel at all.
Right?
Yeah.
Like this is one of their first games, and they just let it sit for like 20, 25 years. Something stupid.
In fact, this is one that I missed, even though I played Makai Kingdom, but I never played Phantom Brave. I started with the first Disgaea game, and I've been a fan of theirs since then. But
yeah, same. I played Disgaea on the PS2 and was like, holy shit, this rules. And kind of
I couldn't get Disgaea here, so I played La Pucelle Tactics instead, which did get a release here.
Yeah.
And that led into it. I also played Rhapsody, which was weird. Fun, but weird.
Yeah. I believe La Pucelle was already kind of hard to find by the time Disgaea took off over here.
Yeah, I couldn't find that anywhere. I just had to you get what is it? Not Plier. Whatever. You get the main character from La Pucelle as a DLC character or as a like unlockable character in a lot of those games.
Yeah,
so I went back and watched some stuff, but yeah.
And they eventually
it's early. Disgaea just took the formula and made it even more ridiculous, but similar vibes. It's cool though. I do dig it, but yeah.
The combat systems are like different enough to like with Makai Kingdom, but yeah.
Yeah, it's like they've got like a house style, but they also kind of like experiment. And
for sure,
Phantom Brave. Even then, I don't fully have the timeline in my head, but Phantom Brave was a strategy game like Disgaea, but they did a lot of weird experimental stuff with like the basic combat mechanics. In a way that I really like at the time really bounced off of. Just 'cause I have like a limited capacity for strategy stuff just because of the way my brain works. And the whole thing in Phantom Brave, both of them, is that you're this little girl that can like talk to ghosts, and she can also like give the ghost physical form by like attaching them to objects, basically. So like instead of your usual strategy game where you just got your units and the battle starts, you pick your units, put them out there. In Phantom Brave, you have to like find an object on the map. Like, oh, here's this rock. I'll stuff this ghost into this rock so I can use it in a fight, and it'll get like defense bonus. Or I'll put this other ghost that's like my mage. Here's this flower. I'll put it in the flower so it gets an intelligence boost. So on and so forth. So there's all kinds of stuff all over a map you can put ghosts in. The twist there is that your units can only be on the field a certain number of turns. So it's like you get your main guy out there. He's really strong, but after 4 turns, he's gone, and you can't bring him back in that fight. So you have this whole thing where it's like, okay, I have to make a bunch of units like I would in another NAS game, but then I have to like think about how I want to deploy them at a fight so that I'm not like throwing all my good stuff out in the beginning and then they all disappear before the fight's over and now I'm screwed, kind of thing. And then movement is like you have a circle and you can basically move your guy wherever you want within the circle while you're kind of basically using invisible action points where it'll be like, all right, you've done enough. Now you need to like do something or end your turn or take it back or whatever.
Okay, so that's the Makai Kingdom mechanic for movement.
Yeah, it's not grid based. It was more loose in that.
And you can like move around, you can like jump on things, all in kind of like pseudo real time, almost like a very primitive Valkyria Chronicles.
That's also how they do things in Vagrant Story, isn't it?
Probably.
It's been a long ass time since I played that. But anyways, not to interrupt.
It's been way too long for me.
Oh, you're good. Anyways, I kind of bounced off of it back then and I was like, I don't know, I can't really deal with this. 20 years later, there's a sequel. And a lot has changed.
Literally 20 years.
Yeah, straight up. NIS is very different now. They've kind of abandoned the like 2D sprite style. People have been having more like mixed reaction to the writing and stuff in their games. And then I don't know, like there's something else about their games that just feels kind of different compared to their older ones. I don't know if they're just kind of like really kind of fishing for the next big idea they have, or something got lost in translation with like the animations and stuff. I don't know. Disgaea 7 was pretty cool, but I've been kind of struggling to get into other ones. So this is kind of in that mold where it's like it's a modern NIS game. It's also a sequel to one of their lesser, I don't know about lesser known, but less celebrated games. Never got a sequel until now. And it's got that same kind of unconventional thing where it's like, okay, your units have limited lifespan on the field. They have a wide range of movement. And then there's just all these kind of weird systems that are baked in. It's a very complicated game. And it feels like complicated in ways that just don't follow the kind of, I don't know, standard strategy RPG rule set that you would like come to expect if you play like tactics games.
Yeah.
Like if you play like Disgaea or you play Triangle Strategy or you play Fire Emblem, all those games kind of follow the same basic rule sets, like controls and how the boards look and all that stuff. Like they have their individual gimmicks, but if you've played one, you can play another and be like, okay, I know what's happening here. This one is like different in a lot of ways. Like the way equipment works is very different. The way like your space for units is very different. The movement of the battlefield is different. skills are acquired and managed differently. It's just everything is just like it looks like an NIS game. It sounds like an NIS game. It kind of moves like an NIS game, but all the rules are slightly different. So it's kind of interesting in that way. They've of course added stuff on top of what was in the original game, in addition to refining it and stuff. It's got difficulty settings, which didn't happen at least in older NIS games.
Sure.
I can't remember if like the newer Disgaea have difficulty settings, or if this one is just like, well, shit, Phantom Brave was kind of.
They do to some
Okay.
extent. I don't know how extensive they are though.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's there. The main character, it's the same little girl. It's funny. It's 20 years later, but the story picks up like 6 months after the ending of the first game. It's like, hope you bought the Switch port of the first one, so you know what's going on.
Otherwise, you were going to be confused.
Yeah.
Well, it got repeatedly ported to everything, and it's on PC. So yeah.
It's also like a very kind of happy-go-lucky feeling kind of thing. Like it's not like this guy or everyone's like a weird little Hot Topic weirdo, or like, you know, they're doing like a spoof on Power Rangers, or you know, like all the weirder kind of setups they have. This one is just like, there's this little girl and she's like happy to be here. She's got a cool power. She just wants to run around and help people, and that's just kind of like, that's the game.
The people also treat her like an outsider, and she's kind of secretly depressed about that, and has all that. It's much more grounded than a lot of the ridiculous shit that NIS gets known for.
Yeah, and the sequel, like she's kind of like saved the world or whatever, and everyone's kind of like knows who she is and respects her a little more, and so she's like, I'm gonna travel and turn this into like a real job or whatever, and then like ghost pirates get involved, and it's very silly. And it's just like, it's a very Dragon Quest style, where it's like you go here and there's a new little story where you help a new person with their problem, and you go here and it's like a different scenario. But it's very just breezy, and you kind of just go along, and everyone's kind of chilling. There is like conflict and stuff, but it's very syrupy. And it's a very slow paced kind of game. It's like it's got these restrictions and weird mechanics and things you have to kind of learn and get used to. But if they kind of make sense and you kind of get a hang of it, and you're like, all right, well, I know what I'm doing now, then it's just sort of that. And just like making your guys stronger and making your weapons stronger, and just making all the numbers go up and go up and go up and go up as you go through the story.
Now we're talking NIS.
Yeah. And because
numbers go up, the Kris special.
But it's very...
Boy, do the number go up.
Oh, it go up. Not quite in the same way. It's not as like dramatic about it in this one.
Nothing is as dramatic about it as Disgaea, let's be real.
That's very true. And I think it hurts this in a way, because like it's very complicated, because it's kind of slow paced. It's almost the wrong game to have the kind of lackadaisical attitude about all the other parts of it, if that makes sense. Just because like all the characters are just kind of hanging out, and the game is just kind of hanging out with you, and it's like, just take your time, man. It's fine. Figure it out. It's all good. I like really struggled to like want to keep playing, just because it was so laid back. It was like, I don't really like, I'm not propelled forward just from the gameplay being kind of weird and interesting, and you're not grabbing me with a like conflict driven story. Nobody really seems in a hurry to be anywhere, or I don't do anything. People are just kind of like reacting to stuff. It's like you're the girl and her buddy who was hanging out with her on the first game, and you get separated because you're attacked by ghost pirates, and she washes up on an island, and she's like, oh well, this kind of sucks, I guess I'll just find something to do. And that's kind of the cadence of the whole game. It's like, well, I'm here, I guess we'll go, do some stuff. So it's just not very exciting, I guess. which is weird for an NIS game because those games are all about just being weird and loud and kind of abrasive in some ways. This one
Weird,
has
loud, and abrasive.
yeah, it's not a similar energy. Like it's still like your characters are ghosts and they all look weird and they have goofy voices. But it just doesn't have like the kind of like fire behind it. I guess a lot of their games have. It's kind of like it's interesting. It's weird. It's not like I don't think there's another game in this genre that functions the same way besides just the other Phantom Brave. So I feel like if you're already kind of in this space and you're like, oh, I played all these Gaia games and I play Fire Emblem and I play Triangle Strategy and all the other like indie ones that are just those games but different. I like these games. Yeah, I like these games, but I want something just different and like a way that these games just aren't going to be. This kind of addresses that. But the vibe is also very different. So this is the perfect game to have a demo because you can just play the demo and start the game and see how you feel about all this weird stuff and go from there. It's like the perfect use case for these RPG demos that are coming out and being like, you can play the first couple hours and we'll hold on to your save data if you decide to buy it. It's like, yeah, games like this probably benefit a lot from that kind of thing.
Definitely.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I dig it. Also, fun story about this. The reason this sequel got greenlit is because they did an American poll for people's favorite NIS characters. And they thought, because Disgaea is the one that sells the best, that Disgaea characters were going to win. But Morona and then like some characters from Phantom Brave actually
interesting
were the ones. And so they were like,
even over Laharl and such. That's weird.
Which is wild, yeah, because Laharl and Etna and Flawn and Prinnies are like
right at the top.
Very, very popular. But yeah.
That's cool. I always like I mean it has been ported a million times. It was on the PS2, it was on the Wii, it was on the PSP.
Yeah.
Steam, Switch. But I just like never came across people like talking about it.
Yeah, there are like notable Disgaea enjoyers like myself, but like I don't ever really hear about any Phantom Brave sickos.
Yeah, I dabbled in a bunch of them. Like again, you love Pucell, but I also had stuff like Soul Nomad, the World Eaters. That was pretty. That stood out to me more because that was just even more weird and wild in its own way. So, I don't know, nothing wrong with Phantom Brave. Just
you're a fan of Gig, Kris?
Absolutely.
It's like I know people like ZHP a lot. That game rules. I know people like Makai Kingdom a lot.
Yeah.
And gosh, there's other NIS games.
I mean, Zeta is one of the best NIS characters that they've made.
Like I've heard more about Labyrinth of Refrain just from random people that I have Phantom Brave, but clearly people, there was a demand, and that's kind of cool.
People show up for it.
That's cool. I dig it. Also, I thought that Phantom Brave came out before Disgaea. It actually didn't. It came out the year after.
That makes sense.
I did not remember.
They were spitting out game. Like I looked at the timeline while we were talking, and like during that period they spat out like a game, like a strategy game of some form, like every like 6 or 12 months for a while there, and then they kind of tried a whole bunch of things, and then it went. I think it's Disgaea is the one where we landed on the best thing, and then they started making the sequels of that, and the other games kind of drifted off as less games came out. So there you go.
Yeah, it's a bummer. First of all, like, just remember the president of NIS just passed, and that's a real bummer. I think that guy's been like super hands-on compared to a lot of like other people in his position and studios and stuff. But like NIS seems to have been struggling a bit lately. in terms of just like landing new ideas that hit well, and like Disgaea has kind of fallen off a little bit. I kept hearing things about them just struggling financially. They've been like publishing other things. They clearly they're on the Falcon train now.
Their publishing arm is quite extensive.
So good for them. They're probably doing doing better now. They got Legend of Heroes, and everyone's going nuts about that now.
About fucking time.
Yeah.
Random tangent. I have to. Literally, I got a message on Discord. I was busy yesterday, and then I came back to Discord. There was like 60 messages from someone who I hadn't spoken to in about 2.5 years. It was just like, "Hi, I've been on a Trails kick, and I have no one else I know to talk about to. So you'll do." And then messages and messages as she replays the Trails series. I'm like, yes. So we've been talking about that again. It's amazing. But yeah,
Nice.
I need to catch up on that stuff.
Yeah, I can't wait for that new.
That has to be my goal for the year.
Remake. I can't wait.
I want to get up to date with Trails.
Yeah. Yeah. I just other games that NIS has been putting out by like other teams. Like I was really big into the oh my god, I'm completely blanking on one of my like favorite new games from these people. The one with the mushroom girl dying in the mystery dungeon.
Oh, yeah.
What the hell is that called?
Void Terrarium.
Void Terrarium. Thank you. Yeah, stuff like that has been really cool.
Yeah, those games rule.
Yeah, so I feel like NIS is a key pillar of the niche RPG space.
Yes.
Because like they make weird stuff. They're not creepy most of the time.
They're significantly less horny than Idea Factory.
Yeah. And I'll even play an Idea Factory game every now and then. I'm actually playing one right now and enjoying, called Fairy Fencer. But a lot of their games are also not games you want to, acknowledge you're playing to other people, probably. So yeah, NIS does a great service to the anime like game scene, and I hope they get to like stick around and do more Phantom Brave 2s and other weird shit. Yeah,
that would be cool.
I'm glad this exists. It's like if there was a call for it, and they're like, yeah, we can do that and dabble in it, and had a decent idea for it, then sure, why not?
Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
Good stuff. Well, I appreciate you talking about it.
Thumbs up.
I got some stuff I could talk about, but let's just call it, because I know Will has to leave soon anyway, and all the stuff that I have yet to talk about, we can talk about on the GOTY episode or the episode after. Nothing is in a big rush.
Yeah.
And the stuff I really want to talk about, I can't talk about yet because the embargo is still in play. Guys, I got some fun stuff to talk about. Anyways, let's get it.
Embargoes.
Yeah. But, it's for, it's for whatever. Let's get out of here. Thank you for joining us for this episode of The Platformers. If you like the show, leave us a review or share the show with friends. We love talking to you. Also, come join us where we are. You can find me increasingly at Blue Sky, at Brian Barnett, BrianBarnett, and Twitter, Twitch, and YouTube at Ribnax, Ribnax. We stream episodes live on Twitch, and I put the VODs up on YouTube afterwards. And if you want to see the stuff that I have been writing, you can check out my guides for Metal Slug Tactics and Indiana Jones and the Great Circle on Kotaku. And you can check out my Tempest Rising preview at IGN.com. And you too will watch my preview video and say, oh my God, it's Command & Conquer. So, Kris, where can everybody find you?
It's so Command & Conquer. Hi, I'm Kris Cornelise. You can find me as Delphir across the internet, DELFEIR. My website is at versusthebacklog.com. That's vsthebacklog.com, one word. Don't have much there at the moment, and you can usually find me here most episodes. And again, more stuff in the pipeline, but secret projects, be secret. You'll see soon enough. Will.
You can find me on Blue Sky at Edgar Allan Bro. You can read my preview of Tempest Rising over at Shack News. You can also read my
preview boys.
Preview boys. You can also read my preview of Karma the Dark World over at IGN. That came out last week, and I will probably talk about it on the next not Game of the Year episode, but it seemed like a lot of people had a lot to talk about, so I figured I'd just talk about Ninja Gaiden for 20 minutes. I've got some cool stuff in the pipe for Digital Trends, PC Gamer, and IGN, and Shack News, but those things are not out yet, but keep an eye on those spaces. I'll announce them on Blue Sky when they do come out. But they're very cool, and some of them are fighting game related, which I'm sure will surprise absolutely nobody. Lucas, where can people find you?
Yo, you can find me on Blue Sky at Hokuto no Lucas, without the no that I just said, just Hokuto Lucas. The two games I talked about today, I reviewed them both on Shack News. I write news daily at Restart. And yeah, I've got more reviews cooking for Shack News. I got something very silly in the mail that I will be writing about for Shack News. I'm trying something a little different. That is it currently. Yeah.
Cool. Well, from everybody here at the Platformers, we hope you have a wonderful week and stay safe out there. Because until next time, we are out.
Peace.
Peace.
Goodbye.